What did I used to think about the Bible? I thought it was just full of old stories that might have good advice peppered in and that symbolized things that could be interpreted any number of ways and that people could call themselves Christians, but that didn't mean that they really knew the Bible. In fact, they were judgmental hypocrites. Of course, those beliefs were formed without actually reading the Bible. Only heard summaries of famous stories like Noah's Ark, Garden of Eden, etc., and the Bible verses I was taught as a kid. Well, those were cherry picked and said over and over again until they lost meaning. It wasn't until I had a supernatural experience that led me to read the Bible cover to cover for myself, and that I truly realized that the Bible is basic instructions before leaving Earth. Growing up in the Christian schools, I lost a lot of trust in the Bible and Christianity. It was hard for me to believe the Bible was true and all the adults around me were such hypocrites, telling lies, sex out of wedlock, prejudice, judgmental. The list goes on, and they all seemed to be getting by doing whatever they wanted 6 days a week, but then trying to be pious on Sunday. Something didn't add up, especially when they weren't being struck down by lightning for their apparent sins. The Lutheran and Catholic schools I went to didn't really talk about Jesus either. They mostly talked about religious figures like saints, popes, and founders of religion. But to me, even as a child, those seemed crazy. One of them would even hit themselves with a whip for sinning until they bled. This was some of the schools glorified to children. No way was I going to be whipping myself for not following the Ten Commandments. That seemed way too harsh. By the time I was 18, I had more or less abandoned Christianity. I was reading astrology charts and horoscopes instead to find wisdom, not the Bible. Then suddenly, other kids I knew that were into astrology and tarot started talking about this documentary called Zeitgeist. Zeitgeist argued that Christianity, specifically the story of Jesus Christ, was a myth borrowed from earlier pagan religions and sun worship. It claimed Jesus is a copy of early deities like Horus, Mithras, and Krishna. Biblical stories are based on astrology, not historical events, and religion was created to control people, not lead them to truth. In my 18-year-old naive mind, this all made a lot of sense. I did not question it. Not only did it explain why astrology charts seemed to make so much sense, but also why the religious people I grew up around were depressed, liars, and closed minded. Then, around the same time, the book The Secret had come out, and it had everyone excited about manifestation, that you can control your life, health, and finances simply by having positive thoughts. It also used Bible verses to justify its claims. I thought, finally, an explanation of why I always felt like there was something missing in what I learned in Christian schools. Little did I know that replacing Jesus with astrology and replacing God's ultimate power and his plan for my life with my own thoughts, vision boards, and positive affirmations was not only naive, it was spiritually dangerous. For 17 years, I continued to study astrology and manifestation. It led me to practice things like sex magic, which believes that the most powerful energy a human has access to is sex energy and climax. Because it's so powerful, it claims that it creates life. So, if you use positive affirmations and say what you want at the time of climax, you will manifest what you want. Warning, sex magic is witchcraft. I did not know that when I used it, but learned it by studying sexual transmutation outlined in the famous self help book, Think and Grow Rich. Do not use these strategies. The author of the book, Napoleon Dynamite, is even a con artist. See the link in description with more info. I also practice sun and moon rituals and visualization hypnosis to reprogram my subconscious mind. I thought these were the things helping me to leave the matrix, but thoughts can be deceitful. If you watch my other videos, you know how much my dog Peter meant to me. After he died, I was in a deep state of grief. People who knew me and how much Peter meant to me were not even bothering to call me to check on me. I felt the most alone I had ever been. No amount of manifestation crystals or positive thoughts could console me. I also had money issues, and the man I was falling in love with ghosted me, all at the same time. The world was crumbling in all at once. I remember lying on the floor, sobbing uncontrollably, eyes closed, screaming out loud, "When will things get better? I've been manifesting half my life. There's no love, there's no money. I feel like the earth is a prison." If I kill myself, I'll be reincarnated again. I can't go through it all over. I'm trapped. I hate it here. What the fuck is going on? What is the point of all this? And I opened my eyes and I saw three shadowy figures standing over me. I got a sense they were laughing at me, enjoying my pain. I sat up immediately. I stopped crying. I told myself, no, I will not let myself lose my mind. I will not give up on my life. I tried to rationalize what I had just saw. Maybe I had seen the other side of the matrix. Maybe I was doing something to finally get through a grief-induced illusion, perhaps. But I was determined to continue using New Age spirituality and manifestation to keep my sanity. A couple days later, I was thinking about the angel numbers I had been using also for years. The man I had been falling in love with and ghosted me when my dog died had an angel number tattoo. That's why I started to date him. I thought it was a sign from the universe we were meant to be together. But not only did he ghost me, but there were other major red flags I saw in him that I ignored because how bad could he be if he's into angel numbers? But curiosity got the best of me. I said to myself, I know I've been trying to find God through astrology, Hindu, sex magic, and even science like quantum physics. And after all these years, I'm confused about who or what God even is. But you know what? I know enough to know that God would not do this to me. He would not send me a man that seemed like destiny just to yank him from me when I'm the saddest I've ever been, when I lost my best friend. For the first time ever, I went to YouTube and looked up angel numbers, but instead of researching 222 meaning and 444 meaning, I searched, are angel numbers misleading? And I was not prepared for what I found. I watched a video from a woman named Doreen Virtue. She claimed to be a former New Age celebrity who had written best-selling books and even created a famous angel card tarot deck. She said one of her books was about angel numbers and that she had gotten the idea for them by meditating to a demon in her bathroom. But she didn't realize it was a demon at the time, she admitted. It was a demon pretending to be an angel. Then she said something I never heard in my Christian schools growing up or New Age research. She said, for even Satan disguises himself as an angel of light. So it is no surprise if his servants also disguise themselves as servants of righteousness. It was a Bible verse that I never knew existed. So, what was she saying? Angel numbers were demons? How could that be? She had an urgent message that the New Age was a deception, and she left it to follow Jesus because he was the only spiritual truth. She was sorry she had ever been in the New Age and was grateful she finally woke up to the truth. So, wait a minute, what does this all mean? I spent days listening to other testimonies after that of men and women all over the world who realized the New Age was a deception. They all had different reasons for getting into the New Age spiritual practices, but they all had the same reason for getting out, a supernatural encounter with Jesus. After a week or two of listening to those testimonies and hearing how closely they resembled my life, trying to manifest for years, practicing law of attraction, nothing worked. Things just got worse. And even seeing shadow people in their home and not sure why. They said after Jesus woke them up out of the New Age, they realized their spirit guides and shadow people were actually demons. These sounded like the same shadow people I had seen, but I would have never guessed they were demons. In my mind, I was safe from all of that because I used sage, I used crystals, but I was wrong. The very thing that I thought was keeping me safe, these crystals and everything else, were a false sense of security. I had opened the doors to the spiritual realm, but instead of greeting love and abundance, I let shadowy demons in. I had heard enough. I had tried everything else. I finally threw up my hands and said, Jesus, who are you? If you're real, please let me know. Give me signs you hear me and let me know it's from you. I didn't want to be deceived anymore. After that, I got seriously ill. It was like this immediate flu had struck me, but it was the middle of summer. It wasn't flu season. It was as if Jesus was purging the darkness out of me that I had accidentally let in my life since I was 18. He was detoxing my soul. Most importantly, for the first time ever, I read the Bible cover to cover. And at the time, people were trying to tell me, don't read the Old Testament. That's for the Jews. But I knew God was guiding me to read the whole thing. I was shocked to realize that the Bible is God's voice, that each word is crafted to reveal obvious truths, not hidden secrets like New Age gurus tried to claim. I learned for the first time that God said things in the Bible, that things like fortune telling and idols, which means tarot and crystals, were an abomination and that they opened the door to unclean spirits. Okay, well, now you tell me. I learned that God and Jesus did not like religious hypocrites and people who tried to seem pious on the outside but did not practice what they preach. Wow, okay, so we have that in common. I can get behind that, I thought. I learned that there were 2,500 prophecies in the Bible, and 2,000 had already been fulfilled with more accuracy than any tarot reading I had ever had. I learned far too much to cover in this video, but I can tell you this. Reading the Bible made me feel like I had finally woken up out of the matrix. According to the Bible, you either live in the world or you live in the kingdom. Both coincide on earth, but usually, if you are in the world, you cannot see the kingdom. And if anyone tries to tell you about it, to try to tell you the truth about the kingdom, you'll usually think they're crazy until you take the red pill for yourself. The Bible is the ultimate red pill and basic instructions before leaving earth. If you're interested in the deep spiritual truths I discovered about manifesting, the New Age, and the Bible, please download my free PDF in my pinned comments. You can also watch my full Mind, Body, Spirit series where I share vulnerable testimonies of my supernatural experiences with Jesus. Link in description. God bless you. Thank you for watching.